Thank you. Tansi, hello, hola. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all of you that join us today for this session to talk about climate change, science, and technology. My name is Sean Boyle, and I'm the head of sustainability for Twitter, calling from our wonderful Dublin office where the sustainability program at Twitter was born. The climate conversation happening on Twitter is ever expanding and uniquely global. Since 2021, conversation about sustainability has grown by more than 150%, and climate change grew 360% between the years 2016 and 2019 on Twitter. We've seen 60% increase in terms like restoring and rebalancing. We have also witnessed a significant transition of the use of the term climate change and being replaced by climate crisis and climate emergency. Today is a very special day, and it is a great privilege to be able to moderate this panel with these very impressive leaders that I deeply admire, and I'm very lucky to call friends. The event today has been fantastic. I've been inspired by so many conversations over the day, and my hope is that this session informs and inspires you to engage in climate action. To follow the conversation, please follow at Peace One Day handle or post using our hashtag Peace One Day on Twitter. So for our panel today, we'll be giving a brief introduction to each one of the panelists, and I will be handing over to each one of them so they can tell us a bit more about them, their work, and how their journey started in the climate action space. So joining me today in this very impressive panel, we have Jordan Burnoff, advisor to the VP, Metis Nation, chair of 7Gen, and member of the board of directors at Indigenous Clean Energy. Thank you for joining us. We also have Brighton Kawama, global director for the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. And finally, we have Professor Mark Madison, who is Professor of Earth System Science at UCL, University College London, and the National History Museum of Denmark. So Jordan, in your own words, please tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you got started in the climate action space.
Great, thank you, Sean. I'm going to start in my own language right now. Tansa kakiao, Jordan Burnoff nisikasan sagatawakose. Hello, everybody. How are you? My name is Jordan Burnoff. I am from the Métis community in northern Saskatchewan, Cree word being Sagatawak, which translates to where the rivers open. So as you can imagine, I come from a beautiful home that is surrounded by lakes and rivers and beautiful forests in the community of Isle La Crosse in Treaty 10 territory in Canada. I'm the advisor to the vice president of the Métis Nation, Saskatchewan. I was also the Minister of Environment, so I get to do a lot of exciting work in that space. I'm chair of 7Gen, the Indigenous Youth Council that brings together young people, Indigenous young people from across Canada to be a part of the energy conversation. I'm also a board member of Indigenous Clean Energy, which is a national social enterprise in Canada that supports Indigenous people to get mobilized in energy projects. So great to see everybody and happy to be a part of the conversation today. Hi.
Thank you, Jordan. So next, Brighton, the same with your own words. Let us know a little bit more about what you do, who you are, and how you got started in the climate space.
Thanks, Sean. I am extremely excited to be here today, but most importantly, to meet incredible people that are on the panel today. And it's not even something that, for me, I imagined. So being in a space where people share unique experiences is something that gives me utmost delight. My name is Brighton Kawama. I'm Zambian, born and raised in Zambia. I work in New York City, currently serving as the Global Director for the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network Youth. So what I simply do is to mobilize over 4,100 young people in 127 countries to localize solutions for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. My journey began back in my small community in Zambia, where communities faced the unintended consequences of development, mining specifically. There was pollution, contamination of water bodies. And when I was a 14-year-old person, I decided to start using the most inexpensive medium of communication, which was radio, to engage in productive dialogue with the community, with government officials, with climate scientists, in order to elevate public dialogue and awareness on sustainability. I then went on to establish a social enterprise that was training children to use their voice for climate action. And then eventually was very lucky to be recognized as the Queen's Young Leader by Her Majesty the Queen of England in 2015. And then later was privileged to be recognized as the WWF International President's Award recipient in 2016. My interests are climate justice, sustainability, as well as storytelling for change. Happy to be here and to join all of you.
Thank you very much, Brighton. So, Professor Maslin, hand it over to you.
Thank you, Sean. And I have to say, it's again a pleasure to be on this panel with Jordan and Brighton. So I'm a systems scientist, and I can see you all going, what's that? So I study the climate of the past, the present, and the future. So I have worked on early human evolution. I have worked on sort of modern climate models, and I'm currently working on solutions that companies, individuals, and governments can have to actually deal with climate change in a social justice way. And I think that's really important. But I also do other things. So I'm an entrepreneur, so I have set up companies to actually employ people, but also to monitor the environment to actually help us really understand what's happening. As you know, Sean, I'm an author. I write blogs, I write books. The latest book is How to Save Our Planet, The Facts. And of course, occasionally I get my arm twisted to be on panels, particularly by Sean. And this one is an absolute pleasure to be on.
Thank you very much. I have a copy here, which basically I have to keep it with me at all times, which is definitely recommended. I want to ask you a few questions about it, because how that book was executed and the format of it is something that I just find fascinating as it relates to climate communication. So Professor Madison, I'll stick with you for now. Just ask you one question and let me set the scene a bit. So, climate change is the single biggest challenge facing the planet today. People around the world use Twitter to connect with other passionate users about protecting our planet. We have conducted an analysis of billions of tweets, and just it ratifies how engaging and important this topic is, and mostly for the youth. At Twitter, we recognize that misleading information about climate change can really undermine efforts to protect the planet. And as somebody that is an educator, not only in an academic setting, you're expert climate change communicator, clearly because of your books, and I've heard your podcasts and so many different formats, and you're an expert communicator. But how do you deal with a loud minority that still holds a contrarian position to the science of climate change? And how do you hold a meaningful conversation with this group?
Well, Sean, I think it's really important to realize that there is a very strong movement out there against the logical change that we need to do to deal with climate change. And actually, we've all come across it. And I think we need to take it apart. I mean, the first thing is, I don't like the term climate skeptic. The reason being is we're all skeptical. We should be skeptical of our politicians. We should be skeptical of our scientists. We should all make sure that we actually think about things in a very careful way. So I much prefer to use the term climate change denier. And I actually think that there are two different types of denier, okay? The first one I call is the honest denier. These are normal people out there who have busy lives. You know, they're desperately trying to get their kids to school on time. They're trying to actually hold down a couple of jobs. They're worried about energy bills going up because of the invasion of Ukraine, you know, and they're worried about things like, oh, how can I get my kids to eat some vegetables? These are the concerns they have. And so they pick up a newspaper or they hear a report. And of course, a little bit of doubt put in there by climate deniers allows them to go, oh, well, climate change is not happening. Maybe I don't have to worry about it. For those people, I think what Jordan and what Brighton are doing is really incredible, because what they're doing is engaging with normal people. I try to do the same and say, look, guys, this is real, but actually we have lots of solutions that actually will make your life better. You know, if many countries have gone 100% renewable, we wouldn't have having the price hikes in energy now due to the global politics of the war. So I think that's really important. We also have to look at what motivates them. Is it their health? Is it their sports that they're fanatic about? How do we engage with them on things that they care about? Because they may not be able to have the capacity to care about the whole planet. I mean, hey, we struggle with that. And then they're the dishonest deniers who we all know, okay? These are the lobbyists who are paid by industry. They're the fossil fuel companies. They are certain politicians on a particular wing of politics. I also think we have to look at particular countries as well, because if we look at the largest 25 fossil fuel companies in the world, 19 are partly state or fully owned by the state. And therefore they get subsidies, tax relief and things like that, because they want to get the petrochemical dollar. So we have to see these dishonest deniers as being not just industry and companies and right-wing politicians, but also certain countries. And we need to deal with those by actually pushing them to the side and just getting on with it and actually driving economics in the right way so we don't need fossil fuels.